Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. The Saint of War, Tensura x DxD, by Kischur Chapter 8. It has been 5 days since the arrival of both Seal and Gibril, with the two taking up residence in the Caslana estate as guest, and since then the two have been away and about going their own interest. Seal has been going with Thor to join his hunt and battles in the Norse realms, with said god being impressed enough to Thor that he gave him a blessing for keeping up with him. Seal has also started to learn the Norse combat system as well, with him both learning the Caslana and Valkyrie style along with Bianca. Gibril has been going to the Library of Asgard, with her starting to absorb various knowledge in the Library of Asgard, and has even started to learn runes and such as well, with her very much teaching Seal as well by the end of the day. Bianca Pav, it has been 5 days since my eternal rival has arrived at my house and became my sparring partner and fellow student of the Caslana and Valkyrie style. To this end I just enjoyed our time together, with him earnestly training to acquire the skills to use both styles. And to tell you the truth, he truly was a genius. Good. Father praised him, while looking at Ciel's form and execution of said technique, and despite my want to be jealous or at least upset of not being looked upon with the same kind and fond eyes in training, I didn't really blame Father. No, it was more like I completely understood why he currently do so. All the things teaching material he is given is the same as the one taught by the academy. Despite being seen as a nation guest, he is still being treated as an ordinary child that is just going to school, which is something that I appreciate quite a lot, especially since, after all, if the Pantheon did give Seal some form of cheat to learn them all faster, it would be far too disrespectful to those that learned it normally, like the Valkyries and Paladins. But even then, it seems that Seal didn't need any form of that. He was naturally talented in combat, with him being able to effectively learn the moves and forms very easily, and even fusing it with his own form of martial arts and fusing them together to make a stronger and better style. I would be lying if I said I wasn't jealous of his talents, but I would also be lying if I said I wasn't proud of such achievement as well. Sure, he did surpass me in like a day in practice, with him practically learning everything in the Valkyrie style and all, and learning most of the Caslana style as well, but I didn't really felt jealous of him, since after all it just lit up my flames to get stronger and stronger. I was in way proud of him, since after all, he is a child even younger than I am, and as a martial artist and combatant, I could only look towards him as something akin to that of a rising star in this community of strength and power. Seal, please teach me your technique, I asked him, causing him to stop his training and looked at me, with Father doing the same thing as well out of curiosity. Seal looking at me with curiosity evident in his eyes, then asked, "Train you? But why? Aren't you excited to fully learn everything in the Caslana style?" He asked me, causing me to flinch, since I did said to him yesterday of how excited I was to learn Caslana style. But considering how more powerful and efficient his is, as a warrior, I want to learn it too, or at least surpassed it with something. Your style is better. Arg. Hearing the sound of pain, me and Seal then looked towards where it came from, which so happens to be Father. Weird, he doesn't even have any sort of injury in his person though. Dad? Are you okay? Should I call Mom? To this, Dad just waved us off. No, I'm fine. I will be inside the house, he said while slowly walking towards the house, causing me to look at him with a worried glance, but considering he isn't injured, Dad should be able to recover whatever injury he has with healing magic and such. To this, I then looked towards Seal, and saw him have a contemplating look, right before nodding and looking at me. Sure, I teach you the newly improved Tempest style. To this, I couldn't help but smile happily at now learning such a great style of martial arts. Seal Pav, yes. This would be good, since because of the upcoming war between pantheons and factions are near. This is a good place to test out if I could actually pass on the skills and knowledge of the Tempest style, and how difficult it is to learn as well, since with my grace equals mind, I could very easily learn and enhance any form of martial arts and magic that I lay my eyes on, and even my own body is not accepted to this fact as well. So this was truly the perfect place to be able to teach others, especially since she too is a genius as well, so if she can't learn it, then either none could learn it other than me, or only those that have either higher talent or experience could actually learn it, and if she did learn it then, that just mean that those that are equal to her in talent very well could learn it, and the possibility of those of weaker talents could as well. Of course there are other reasons as well, like for example, them teaching me their fighting arts and techniques, with from what I could tell was their best, which is Kaslana and Valkyrie style, and since it would be selfish of me, and leaving heaven in bad light if I don't give them something of equal or higher value, I decided to give them Tempest style, or if Bianca's can't used it, then I give them the knowledge on how to do it. And besides that, this is still incomplete, until my journey isn't done, then Tempest style wouldn't be done as well. Currently, the Tempest style that I created in the library is no longer the same back then. If I were to compare the two, then the previous incarnation could be said to be like that of a calm lake, without any movements or impurities. But now, the latest incarnation of the style, by both fusing the Valkyrie and Kaslana style that I so happened to learn, I was able to reform the whole style in its entirety, while still keeping what it truly was like from before, making it a perfect merger of both heaven and Asgard itself in a form of a martial arts now. But still though, despite the Kaslana and Valkyrie style existing in both pantheon, the two are distinct on how they fight, with the Kaslana style being more focused and specialized in the way of the sword, while the Valkyrie style is more of a lance or spear style of weapon. Of course, it does make sense, when I learned of the two's specialization, but after learning it myself, and the few things that I could learn, I did felt that there are one or two moves in there that was same or nearly identical to the other. Well, considering that Kaslana style is older, and that the Valkyrie style, as said by Brunhilde and Siegfried, is one of the newer styles of combat, it does make sense that the Valkyrie style would try to acquire some moves from older and more refined styles, I thought, while still remembering some of the moves. Then there's energy manipulation as well. Their way of energy manipulation is entirely different from heaven and the church itself, and from each other as well. While heaven's way of manipulating their energy is to spread it all evenly in the body, so that the increased in strength wouldn't be uneven, and that the body wouldn't be so strained in moving and fighting, but also making it so that they could manipulate their own energy for explosive attacks as well. But for both of them though, their own energy manipulation was different. They don't evenly spread their energy, but put energy in places that they think is the most important part of their style, like enhancing their fist, if that was more important, or enhancing their own heart, or eyes as well. If they felt like they are the most important, then they would have most of the power, while the least would have the least energy. But there was a secret to it as well, since if that was the only thing about this style, then many would have already copied it, or it is extremely easy to counter it as well. Since the lower density energy would be easier to cut or impale from, and that was my original criticism of the style, but it seems that it was a trick, since they were able to figure out a safe way to rapidly manipulate one's energy to change directly and go to different directions instantly, making it instantly one of the best ways in actually manipulating one's energy and is a perfect tool for support and for battle. Because of this, I looked at the two as completely opposite ends of energy manipulation. One is like a calm lake, with there being no movements or waves of water flowing, but when needed, the calm lake could produce strong waves to destroy anything near the shore. And as for Norse style of manipulating energy is just like that of a raging flowing river, with there being safe sides, with some calm, while some sides being dangerous to cross with the river flowing far too fast and violent. And put in another way, heaven's style of energy manipulation is to make the fighter last much longer than they could ever reach on their own, while making sure that they are at the height of their power no matter their injury or position. While the Norse is all about maximizing one's power and speed to the fullest, with them fighting in short bursts, but wielding power that no other style of energy manipulation could ever replicate, causing the Norse style of combat to always end in about a few minutes and not last longer, but because of the increased in power being so immense, it does make it worthwhile. And right now, with the help of my grace, I was able to perfectly merge the two together, causing both of their positives to mesh perfectly, with it enhancing their effects, while lowering their negatives as much as possible. And with me also merging the moves that I could learn from Valkyrie and Kaslana style to my own Tempest style, has caused my attacks and moves to change as well, so right now, I'm fairly confident that I have the best style in Europe at least. The Tempest style right now is meshed between Heaven and Norse, so it is quite difficult to learn and master, but learning it should allow you to improve even a little bit, Bianca. I explained to her, but it seems that the difficulty excites her even more. Huh? It seems that we're alike in some ways. Difficult. That word only excites me. Learn and master it even more. So Seal, let's do this. With that, she then acquired a greatsword to get started, causing me to smile, quite excited of the prospects of learning how to actually teach to others. Gibril Pov, it has been about 5 days since me and Seal has arrived to Asgard, and ever since then, both me and him have fallen into a cycle of sorts. Me, going to the Asgard library, reading books, after books to learn new things, like the Asgardian magic system and runes, and of course their materials and monster biology, which most of it should be useful for Seal to learn. And as for him, he has been learning and mastering both Kaslana and Valkyrie's style in an extremely fast speed, surprising and shocking many, since it would normally take years to reach his current mastery, but he only did it in a few days' time, which is the reason why Heaven wants to foster his talents, coming to believe that he is the key to their survivability of Heaven itself in the war to come in the future as well. Which is something that I agreed with. It's because of that, currently both me and Lord Odin was currently in a secret meeting, discussing a potential strengthening of the alliance between Norse and Heaven. You want the boy to experience Mimir's well? Odin asked me again, with a completely serious tone, which is very much understandable, since after all, Mimir's well is treated as the equivalent to Heaven's library back in Heaven, the only main difference being that Heaven's library isn't well known and is a guarded secret. But what they do is essentially the same, or at least the well is more efficient though, since it gives the most useful knowledge to a person that enters it and survives it. That's also a difference between the two as well. Unlike Heaven's library that only allows the person to read books, the well automatically grants knowledge to those that survive the trials, which is to sacrifice one's eye and hang oneself for 9 days and 9 nights. But if they're weak or do not possess the will and conviction to possess the vast knowledge that would come with it, then the well will kill them without any mercy whatsoever. It's because of this, the well of Mimir is by far the most sought after item of any knowledge or wisdom deity, with them wanting to experience it and gain true wisdom and knowledge. But with Seal, I'm sure he can handle it. With his grace on hand, he could easily survive the experience and acquire knowledge and wisdom that would be said to be beyond his years. Mimir's well is one of the most powerful gates of knowledge there is in the supernatural world, with one learning and knowing many things thanks to it. But Mimir's well doesn't grant unlimited knowledge and wisdom. What it grants is the knowledge and wisdom of the Norse realm and the human world, much like Heaven's library. Hearing that, I couldn't help but looked at him, shocked that he knows that sort of information. But how? How did? But before I could think of anything, Odin raised his hand to stop my thoughts from going anywhere further and then looked at me in the eye and answered how he knew. The reason why I knew is because of Michael. Lord Michael. Did he reveal the information to you? But why? I asked, desperate to get answers, since it is a written law that Heaven's library must be kept secret to other pantheons and faction by the Lord himself. To give this sort of information to others is a clear sign of violation to God's laws and words. To this, Odin then relaxed himself in his seat. Michael wanted to protect Heaven, and to this, he promised me access to Heaven's library and have unlimited access to it, so that the alliance between Norse and Heaven would last for thousands of years. But I'm sure he did this move to protect Heaven and the Church, Odin explained, causing me to accept it a little bit. But still though, for Michael to grant such access to an outsider is, well, something. I'm sure that the others has heated debates over this, and from what I could tell, it seems that Lord Michael won the debate and gave permission to Odin. But why didn't Lady Gabriel inform me of this? If I known, then maybe we wait. Did Lord Michael kept it a secret from the others as well? Since if the others know, Lady Gabriel would have definitely informed Seal about this deal, she wouldn't be able to resist telling him everything in a secret meeting. It's because of that, he could technically know everything about every meetings from Lady Gabriel. I need to talk to Seal if he knew of this information, and if not, then it is safe to assume that Lord Michael did this behind everyone's back. But still though, why didn't Lord God did anything to this? Lord Michael should have been punished because of this disobedience of orders. Well anyway, as for you desire for Seal to go to Mimir's well, I'm afraid that he isn't worthy enough to have access to such a sacred place in the Norse realm, since if anyone that wants to go, could go, then it wouldn't be such a sought-after place. You need to give me something that is worthy of the prize to enter the well and to make Seal be more worthy in my eyes. Hearing that, I could only sigh in disappointment, since I didn't have anything that might equal to scales of negotiation, and if I did have one, then they're far too expensive and valuable to give to other pantheon, and besides that, despite Ciel's inherent value, I'm sure many would riot because of the obvious favoritism that he would get from that. Humans truly are far too short-sighted sometimes. Dot. 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 While returning to the Kazlana estate after my meeting with Odin, I came across the laying figure of the young Kazlana, Bianca Atigina. But still though, why did she change her name? I wondered, but considering that there isn't much conflict in the estate, and the close relationship between the family, I didn't really bothered by it by much. With that, I then walked towards her, which has also made me notice her current state, which is currently is heavily injured to an extensive degree. What happened to her? I thought, which has caused me to stop my movements to look upon her body to see the gravity of her wounds, but because of my sudden stopped, it seems that she noticed me. She looked upon me with a surprised look on her. Oh, I didn't know it was you who visited me. With that she then turned her body around and then knelt down and continued. Sorry for my current appearance, but please do forgive me, oh, honored guest from afar, she said with respect in her tone, causing me to shake my head and then sat right near her. It's fine, but still, you should get your injuries checked up on, since from what I could tell, it is quite serious set of injuries. I asked, quite worried for her current state, since after all she is a captain of a Valkyrie squad, so she has quite a bit of responsibility as well. To this, she only shook her head, disagreeing with my suggestion. It's quite alright, since after all, this is the first time for me experiencing this level of damage while trying to learn a new style after all. To this, I slowly just shift away from, which she noticed, why are you leaving? Quote. To this, I just nervously tapped my finger to my cheek and said, well. Are you by chance a masochist? Quote. Hoo-ha. Why did you think that? How rude. She yelled out, with her sounding offended at the accusation, which did cause me to feel guilty though. Well, anyway back to topic, what kind of style cause you? Well this. I asked, quite curious of this new style that she is practicing. Could it be another Norse style? I thought, since after all, there are factions that creates non-standard versions of already existing martial arts after all, so the Norse, who is a pantheon that loves to fight, it wouldn't really be strange if they have multiple non-standard arts. Oh, well it's Tempest style, the one that Seal created for himself. Wait, it's CL's style? I asked again, wanting to know if my ears aren't deceiving me at this very moment. To this, she only nodded proudly and spoke. Yeah, it's CL's fighting style or martial arts, it is truly a powerful and perfect style of sword combat if someone were to ask me of it. But because of that perfection though, it is extremely hard to learn and master, and even then, if one doesn't actually perform a move perfectly. Well, you see the result already. Upon hearing that, I couldn't help but be surprised by her words, or more especially the implication of said words. Wait, is she telling me that his style is so powerful and difficult to learn, that even the genius Bianca Atigina couldn't fully use it? I thought, completely in shock at her words, since from what I could gather from Seal, Tempest style is a creation that he finished creating when he got out of Heaven's library. So he just finished creating it in a few days, and with him being the only user of it, it is generally hard to determine how hard it is to learn, since even before he acquired his grace, Seal is still the greatest talent that Heaven has seen in humanity by that point in time, and still is considered to be the most talented, with the feat of him becoming an enlightened human going by him. But still though, for Tempest style to be that dangerous, it's unbelievable, I thought while looking at the murmuring Bianca, who from what I could gather is trying to find ways to use the style correctly. Seeing this, I then felt it. Boom. Asterisk. What was that? I yelled out, while standing up and looking at where the explosion appeared from, and from there I saw a massive pillar of hot orange flames being erected and many paladins, Valkyries, gods and several other races flying, rushing towards the pillar. While all of this was happening, Bianca only looked upon it with a longing look and then hummed, he truly is quite something. I do wished I could reached his level of strength sooner though. Hearing that, I could only placed one name on who she was talking about, and that just made me more terrified as well. Quote. Seal. CL's fighting who? I asked, while now fully sensing the two energies clashing together. There was CL's own magical energy, which was pure and holy in nature, much like as of an archangels and seraphims themselves, but something distinct about his was that it was calm, like that of a calm lake without any movement or impurities, a beautiful, clear, calm lake, that was CL's magical signature. But the other was like that of a volcano erupting, trying to cover everything in magma and ash, with it trying to cover everything near him to destroy all things. But strangely as well, there also appeared the sign of a blizzard underneath said lava and ash. It was such a contrast to Ciel's, that I was surprised such a thing was truly possible to be made. Father. Ciel is currently fighting Father. Just 5 minutes ago, he completed Kazlana and Valkyrie style, and right now he is challenging Father to a duel to test out the newest iteration of Tempest arts. To this new information, I couldn't help but sigh. Despite appearing as a calm and mature person, Ciel truly is far too eager to challenge himself. Well, I think that's what truly made him, well, him after all. Dot. 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 Third person view. In the battlefield of both Ciel and Siegfried, currently the entire area of their battlefield, which is a large sparring area, which is entirely covered by various protection spells and runes from all over the world, was currently melted and destroyed down to its last letter. And it was a feat that only super classes could do, and right now Siegfried Kazlana was going all out to defeat his current opponent before him, with him activating his bloodline's abilities to fullest core and have the chance to actually win this one battle. Dang. Either I have gotten weaker, or this kid is a monster. But for him to have something like that under his sleeve, Siegfried thought, while managing his sword, that it wouldn't accidentally went out of control and destroy this portion of Asgard. Truly, this sword is good at fighting an army, but it's such a drag while fighting with allies, he thought while looking at the small boy, who was wielding a blade on the same lineage as his own. A fire sword. I thought only the legendary flaming sword is heaven's only flame sword, but it seems that I was wrong. Dot. Well, whatever. From what I could tell, it is a unique grade weapon, powerful, but not powerful enough to match Shamash's current form. Siegfried evaluated the sword in Ciel's hand, and the other thing that is important to note is their stage of evolution. He may be humanity's greatest talent, with him being an enlightened human at the age of 7 years old, but I'm still a saint stage human and is one of the strongest by far as well, and with a higher graded sword, I sure win. Siegfried thought while readying for another strike of his majestic and destructive sword. With that he then unleashed all of his magical power, as a way for Ciel to notice the size difference between their current level of power. To this end, it caused everyone in Asgard at the time to try to witness the battle between the strongest, with Thor overlooking the battle with excitement, and Odin decided to create another set of barriers so that they could go all out without hurting everyone in the audience. Gibril and Bianca, who came to see the result of the fight, and Brunhilde and her other 2 children also arrived as well, with in her hand a sword. This too. They couldn't even wait for me to actually give this sword to Ciel, Brunhilde thought while looking at the 2 fighters. And in truth, she doesn't actually know who would win this battle, despite her husband's countless battles and duels in the last millennium alone, and with him also being one of the strongest humans in history and attaining saint stage as well. It should have been an easy win for Siegfried, especially with his superior weapon by his side, which is made much worse since the 2 weapons are the same lineage, with the 2 being fire swords. But despite being younger though, it is also not a secret that Ciel is just a better technical fighter out of the 2 of them, and even more so with how smart he is, with him being able to instantly came up with a strategy to survive the flames of the great sword. In terms of talent and technique, Ciel is way better than even Siegfried, but in terms of everything else though, Siegfried takes the cake. But, Brunhilde's mind then flashback to the inhumane smile that crop up from his beautiful face when they first clashed. He is hiding something. A power or a move that might change the whole tide of the battle in one move, she thought while holding on to the sword even more tighter. This is surely a battle that would be remembered. With that, Ciel then unleashed his magic energy, which glowed into that of an extremely beautiful and mesmerizing golden hue, with it taking the shape of that of a lion's mane. It was a scene that made the audience to be at awe at the sheer beauty of it all. But more than that, to those that specialized in magic, felt extreme envy of. His magical energy is so pure and divine. It's unreal that it came from a child no older than 10 years old. Single quote. What the? For heaven to have someone like him. Heaven truly is lucky to have such talent. Single quote. This is something, for a 7-year-old to have such immensely quality magical energy. Siegfried, you might lose this one. Siegfried, who only knew a few magic himself, also knew the gravity of the situation and how immensely beautiful and lucky heaven acquired now, this guy.
This guy would definitely be the strongest in the future. He saw it in his eyes.
The eyes that craves challenges in battle. Eyes in which have flames that even surpassed those of the primordial flame of Shamash. It was eyes that wants to see where he could go. Caslana art. Calidbald. Tempest art. Voidless slashes. With that, Siegfried fired an overhead slashes towards Seal, creating waves of fire running towards Seal. Seal then took a step and then slashed towards the roaring flames coming towards him, and in that split second, countless slashes burst forth. Siegfried, seeing that, couldn't help but narrow his eyes. There it is again. For a split second, his attack power and speed gets boosted and reached levels comparable to those of a saint, but it is only a split second, Siegfried thought, while deciding to back away for a little bit to analyze this sort of information. But question is, how far does it go?
How long could he keep it up? And how strong could get? Of course there was quite a bit of strain while doing that, but for the most part he seems to be relatively fine, he thought while looking at the caution looked from Seal. Tempest art. Voidless step. In a flash, Seal disappeared in a golden light and rainbow hue, with him rushing towards Siegfried with immense speed, which Siegfried was able to react and counter with his overhead slash to destroy his momentum. But before the greatsword could land its hit, Seal took a step back in the final moments, causing the blade to miss his head by just a tiny margin, and with that he kicked the air for additional burst of speed and then slashed at Siegfried's neck. Bam! Asterisk. When the blade connected, blade stopped its movements completely, like it just struck a strong stone wall, causing Seal to wince in pain because of his arms was shaking because of the impact of the strike that he just delivered. Well, that's a neat trick, so that's how you used your hot. Quite impressive, Seal complimented the man, since he recognized that technique, especially its iconic and unique patterns in his skin. To this Siegfried just grabbed his blade and then pulled him closer and then kneeled his stomach, and with that he then slammed him down to the ground and then dragged him through the pavement and then threw him to the barrier. Siegfried, seeing the damage that he did, couldn't help but feel like something is wrong. He's planning something. Wait. He stopped his thoughts and then hurriedly looked at Seal and then saw him. Without any sort of damage whatsoever, and across of his body was gold-colored marking all over his body, with all of them flashing back and forth, from vanishing and then reappearing from his body. With that he then raised his hand to Siegfried, with the full intent for everyone to see it. This is blood, a more perfected and more versatile of your hot. Seal explained, and then with a flick of his wrist, a huge and powerful gust of wind then went to his side and then hit the barrier, with it cutting and destroying the ground in which the wind crossed. Blood is both offensive and defensive technique, with it very much granting even greater capabilities of your hot. So now, let's see if I can give your current state a wake-up call and take this seriously. Tempest art. Voidless step. 3 stages. Quote. Enhanced with blood, Seal became even faster than before and before even Siegfried could anticipate. Slash. Asterisk. Seal already passed him and then sent in countless sword slashes all over his entire body, with him countlessly attacking his arms, legs, body, thumps, head, eyes and even his own hairs as well. It was a scene that surprised them quite a bit, not just because Siegfried couldn't react fast enough, but because of the incredibly fast slashes that was currently happening before their very eyes itself. Seal then gracefully turned around and then sent in a powerful slash to his torso, passing him once again. With that he then gathered immense energies of holy and his own hockey as well in his blade and then in a display of power, launched it into a beam of pure fire to Siegfried, engulfing his entire body. Finishing his attack, Seal could only sighed and then looked at his own arm, which was currently damaged. Of course, from the outsider's perspective, it looked perfectly fine, but from those that perfectly knew martial arts and know what it means to go past one's limit, they already knew what happened. Seal is just an enlightened human, sure a strong one at that, with him being at the peak of the stage. But one can't just evolve because he achieved level of power that is generally beyond him, since if that is the case for evolution, then millions of others would have already evolved by this point in time, Odin thought while looking at the human. In truth, the easiest evolution is always the first one, but the hardest evolution would always be the second one, especially to the human race itself, with them only having 2 evolutions, but they have the added benefit of a power bonus going for them though. Whatever method he is using, it is by the most effective one that I have seen by far, Odin concluded, while looking at the boy. As for the method that he used, He simply fused together Golden Ring Star method with Hot, while Hot only enhanced one's durability. It does so by infusing their Haki and magic into their skin itself, which grants them inhumane levels of durability as a result, but doing so would also cause them some strain, so users of Hot would always use it in the last possible second to be able to acquire the durability, while also not straining their overall body too much as well. But Blood on the other hand is different, since it is a lot more dangerous to do so. With it fusing his Haki and magic to his skin, but also to his muscles, bones and veins, causing him to have an inhumane increase in both physical attack and durability as well, but in doing so, he does run the risk of damaging his own body if he let it out for too long, or if he messed up the control self-destruct as well, but luckily for him though, he has his grace with him, with it altering his own body to increase its adaptability to the new ability, making him be able to use it whenever he wants. Of course the alteration is still not finished though. With the increase of both physical damage and durability, Seal is confident that he was able to temporarily bridge the gap between Saint and Enlightened, but he also know that right now he is in a time limit of sorts, with him right now only capable of actually fighting for a few minutes. Despite my increased, I still can't go over the limit of an Enlightened stage for too long. I predict I have about 5 minutes before I need to turn Blood off for being far too unsafe to use by that point. Seal concluded, since after all, like Odin said, if there are ways in which to increase one's overall power beyond his limits, then many arts and skills would have already been developed for that, but there isn't, or more like it just vanished and was given up and only been classified as a trump card when he is about die in a battle or in a war. To this, Seal didn't acquire concrete evidence, since the angels didn't told him anything about those, and that strangely enough the library didn't have knowledge of it either, so he could only conclude that the usage of this sort of enhancement is something that is dangerous and forbidden to be used, since it would very well be life-threatening, and considering that he doesn't want to forever sadden Gabriel, he very well refused to die because of his own carelessness. With that he then went all out for the first time in this battle, with Siegfried sensing this, decided to see what he got left. Bianca seeing what was happening couldn't help but released a surprised gasp, which the others very much noticed, with Brunhilde, her mother deciding to question her for a moment. Bianca, do you know what Seal is currently doing? She asked her daughter, wanting to see the new technique that the boy would give to the audience before them. To this, Bianca nodded and then explained to her mother and to Desneer her what the technique is, what Seal is going to use as one of the 5 great mysteries of the style. With it being called Deep Calm, it is a technique that removes all unnecessary thoughts in the mind and enhances the mind's ability to process and feel information in the surroundings. In that state, the user could even see all around them by just feeling the vibrations in the air, and with there nothing blocking the mind, the user is able to subconsciously move as well. It is a technique that could be said to be the height of support techniques, Bianca finished while looking at the technique being performed. In truth, she couldn't use it at all, but that doesn't mean that she doesn't know it, since Seal did freely gave her the information and every technique in the style and what they can do to her. And so she has also decided to train seriously to reach his level of mastery, but as of right now she couldn't reach it. The others hearing that, couldn't help but be surprised and fear such a powerful technique, since they too also felt the same as her, since after all such a technique would be able to instantly strengthen their technique and be able to reach one's true heights as a result of said technique. Siegfried hearing that couldn't help but be surprised as well, and now fully understanding what he is up against now, decided to raise his power above that of Seal, not wanting to lose in front of someone younger than him, and above all someone weaker than him as well. Then I need to use 20% of my power here. With that Siegfried released and then started to raise his power, which made the others be blown away from his shown of power. Seal didn't react to this change of power, since to the current him right now, he felt like he could deal with the threat in front of him. He wasn't sure if he could win outright, but he was at least confident that he could make it difficult to win against him at least. With that, he then leapt towards the hero before his eyes, and before anyone could say anything. Boom. Asterisk. The second round began already. The battle between the two was of equal footing, with no one knowing who was winning and who was losing. The two was of equal standing, which surprised many, since it was clear as day that Seal was the physically weaker one out of the two despite using blood. Which caused the more technical fighters to realize what was happening in the duel. Seal is overcoming the disadvantage of being weaker, by simply being more skilled and having more technical knowledge and know-how. Single quote. Marvelous. That kid is obviously at the peak of Grandmaster, but with the technique he used, he could be said to be at the edge of inept true Grandmaster. Truly marvelous. He should be able to acquire a body reconstruction in the near future with his current skill being up there and all. Single quote. So this is the strength and skills of Heaven's gifted child. It seems that Heaven has a chance of surviving the war after all. With Deep Calm helping him, Seal was able to perfectly anticipate his opponent's attack patterns, which also didn't help his opponent that he knows the moves of Kazlana style as well, while the man didn't actually know of Tempest style that much, only the things that he experienced for himself and the ones that his own daughter explained. Shit. I need to raise my power even more, Siegfried thought, while raising it even further and reaching his 25% stage, which has caused his sword to burst into heat as a result of the increased of power. But Seal didn't stop with the sensing and seeing the increased of power, but he more so engaged the man more harder and more determined than before. With the help of his grace once more, he was able to accelerate his thoughts and processing speeds by creating parallel minds in his own head, causing the increased of processing of everything and predicting the attack patterns of the man to become easier and easier. The only thing that truly made it difficult is the increased of power, but with that, he too also increased the output of his blood, which he wasn't going to run out of, because of blood utilizing both hockey and magic. It takes quite a bit out of Seal, both his mental fatigue, his body and above all his stamina. But the latter problem he was able to solve by using his own mana as the substitute for stamina and then used his own stamina to transform it into hockey, while his magic on the other hand was using his universe's reserved holy energy to be able to use blood as long as he did. As the battle raged on between the two entered in an equilibrium. The two was in harmony how to fight and how to move, with Siegfried slowly learning how Tempest style works and being able to somewhat dodge it before Seal modified it and then made it unpredictable once again. And despite this though, the two was happily smiling, with Seal showing an inhumane grin that didn't match his beautiful and handsome face at all, but unlike before, Siegfried didn't shiver but only showed off a similar smile and couldn't help but be happy of his current situation. Because of Seal being a lot better in swordsmanship than himself, and with him being immensely more powerful than Seal, he was able to train his own Kazlana style, improving upon it, bit by bit, allowing it to lose some of its weaknesses the longer this battle dragged on. Even Tempest style was changing as well, with it improving immensely, with some moves that needed about 10 steps to set up, becoming 5 steps, and then slowly becoming 3 steps, and then finally 2 steps, which has caused his attack speed to become immensely more faster as a result. By the time that the two backed off, the entire area was destroyed, with both of their outfit being destroyed in some places, which did reveal their well-built bodies, which did cause some of the Valkyries and goddesses that was witnessing the battle to blush at, but no one paid attention to them, since all of their focus was on this two opponents that was fighting the best duel of their lives. Siegfried, without any sort of preparation whatsoever, just sent an arc of flames towards Seal, Kazlana style, Kaladbolg. Quote. Seal seeing this, only brought his sword forward and then raised it and then slashed, Tempest style, Karmasher Shragstrich. With that an arc of flames also launched itself to the flames of Siegfried, and when the two flames met in the middle, Ciel's flames instantly won the battle without any conflict whatsoever and then straight away went to Siegfried, who decided to eat the attacked head on. Boom. Asterisk. With the attacked hitting, Seal then turned off his blood, seeing that he has already hit limit and then went unconscious afterwards, while Siegfried who revealed himself when the flames of Seal and the dust that was created from the attack disappeared, revealed himself to still be awake and still somewhat standing up, with him using his sword as a clutch. Thor seeing the result, couldn't help but sigh in disappointment on how the duel ended so anticlimactically. The winner is Siegfried Kazlana. Quote. Siegfried hearing this, didn't do anything and just stared at the boy before him and then sighed. Single quote. Sure, I approved of you as my son-in-law. Brat. You better take care of my daughter, you bastard. With that, he too also became unconscious and fell on his back, sleeping in the ground below him as well. Shortly after that, the battle was quickly spread all across the Norse pantheon, making Seal somewhat famous for his exploit of making Siegfried fall unconscious of their duel.